Hi folks, Des Phoebe here and welcome to another episode of The Franchise Entrepreneur. And today I'm going to talk to you about personal branding. Now this isn't something new to any of you. You've all heard of it and you probably all have a good idea on what it is. But it doesn't cease to amaze me on how few people are actually doing it. You know, I'm a member of a number of networks. I see it all the time on franchises who talk to me, or people who own their own businesses who are talking to me, and we talk about marketing a lot, and they are well aware of what personal branding is, or they've got a rough idea on what it is, but none of them do it as part of their strategy to grow their business, which I find confusing because it's probably the single most effective thing that they could probably do to grow their actual business by creating their own personal brand. It certainly helped my business, and I'm doubling down on what I'm doing. So, you know, you probably, if you're following my podcast, you're seeing that I've increased those from 1 to 3 a week. That's all part of my personal branding. It's not part of Walk and Go. It's not part of PFC. It's separate from that, but it also is linked back into it, because the more influence I have from my personal branding, the more opportunities that present themselves for the rest of my business. It seems to be that gets lost in translation with a lot of people. In fact, most people, you know, we've all heard the saying that you are all now your own personal marketing company, but we don't actually use that, do we? We don't actually do anything with that knowledge. You know, most of us have got a Facebook account, maybe even an Instagram account, but we put pictures of our family and things like that on it. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're creating a personal brand, you've got to go 2, 3, 4, 5 steps further than that. You know, probably one of the best descriptions that I've heard of what a personal branding is, I read just the other day, and I'll read it to you. A personal brand is a relationship with you, an individual who exists separately from your company. Now, I just add onto that, not just your company, but your employee or your employer, because you can have a personal brand regardless of whether you're working for someone else or you've got your own company. The process of personal branding involves finding your uniqueness, building a reputation on the things you want to be known for, and then allowing yourself to be known for them. So I think that's a really good description of what personal branding is. It gets straight to the point. You know, regardless of whether you've got a company or whether you're working for someone else, you can create your own personal brand. And, you know, let me give you a classic example of something that is sublime, really, in the way in which she did it. You know, this is a woman who has created a whole personal brand on how to clean your home. And of course, I'm talking about Mrs. Hinch. You know, I had never even heard of her. But this, if you can create a personal brand from showing people how to clean your home and tips on how to clean your home, then come on, you can create a personal brand on almost anything. Now, this woman now has videos, you know, a whole social media following, and a big social media following. My wife follows her. Books, you know, all sorts of merchandise, all created from just giving tips on YouTube on cleaning. So if you've got a hobby, if you've got an interest, you've got the ability to be able to create a personal brand. You know, personal branding is not something new. It's been around for, you know, from the beginning of time. You know, if you think about, let's take the extreme example, Jesus. Yeah. He sent 12 disciples out to tell the world about himself. That's personal branding. You know, every movie star from the beginning of film has had a form of personal brand. You know, the big difference in today's society is that we've all got the capability and access to the technology to be able to create a personal brand. That's the big difference. The fact is that 99% of us aren't doing it. We're not using it. Yeah, we've got a LinkedIn profile. Yeah, we've got a bit of Facebook. but we don't put together a strategy to go, right, okay, look, this is what I want to be known for. Separate from my business, this is what I want to be known for. This is who I am. This is what I want to portray to the public. And that can be insights into your family life. It can be insights into what you believe in, what your values are. So people get to know you. And by the very fact that people get to know you, they build up trust, they build up familiarity. And that enables you to then open up to the sale, if that's indeed what you want to do. It could be that there isn't a product there that you want to sell. The product is yourself. Mrs. Hinch, let's take that example there. Now, she may not have gone on to YouTube with any intention of that becoming commercialized. But what it's enabled her to be able to do is that she's now got a huge following. That enables her now to, think about it. Her videos are getting watched by millions of people. She starts using a cleaning product on there. Guess what? She recommends a cleaning product. She recommends doing this, that, or the other. She's now getting sponsorship money. I don't know whether she has on her YouTube or not, but she could have ads on her YouTube where it gets stopped at certain points in the proceedings, and then there's a little ad that comes on. Her books, they've been obviously, she's now got books, she's got merchandise. It could be a completely different and separate part of your whole strategy or your whole life. It doesn't have to have anything to do with your business. You can link it back to your business. I link mine back to my business, but I also talk about all sorts of things that have nothing to do with my business. I'm no personal branding expert, but I'm on here talking to you about it. I don't have a personal branding company to sell you any products or services, but I'm talking to you because it's something I want to share with you, and I believe it is hugely important. One of the first things I say to our master franchises is what are you doing in terms of your own personal marketing? I'm not talking about you marketing just your business. I'm talking about how you market yourself. What are you doing on your personal branding? And they quite often will come back to me and say, well, why should we be doing something on that? We're selling this product. Because people want to know who is behind that. They want to know something about you. Some of the benefits of personal branding are you build trust, right? It's not just trust in your product. Your product, if I'm selling Walk and Go, what am I marketing on Walk and Go? I'm putting my boxes out on a video. I'm showing customers coming in and out. I'm talking to people about the financials. I'm talking to them about how the business operates and the strategy. But there's nothing about me, the person who created that brand. So that's why I created a personal brand for me. And what happens now is that more often than not, we get business not purely because of what I'm marketing as a product, i.e. the brand Walk and Go or Jack Burrito or Dodo or any of the others. People look at who's behind it, will do their research on, let's have a look at Des Phoebe. Well, oh, okay, yeah, look, he's on social media. He's all over social media. Oh, he's got a podcast. They get a good insight to who I am, what my values are, what I believe in. If you looked at my social media, you wouldn't just see Facebook. You would see Instagram. You would see LinkedIn. You'd see my podcast. You see YouTube. But you'll see all sorts of different elements of me talking, not just about business, but about things like this, where people can really build up a good view and understanding of the person that I am. And not only that, they only have to have a look at my YouTube and my Instagram, and they actually get to see what I look like. And you might think why is that important? Again, it's all about familiarity, listening to my voice. When I first started Walk and Go, most people thought I should have been Chinese or from an ethnic background, and they would be surprised when they met me. There's no surprise now. They only have to look me up and they can see who I am. How old I am, how little hair I have, what kind of sense of humour I might have, because there's clips of me messing around on certain social media. And then there's the serious side of me. Where do I live? What kind of house do I live in? How many kids do I have? Do I have a dog? Or do I have any pets? What car do I drive? Where do I go on holiday? All of this builds up familiarity. And building up familiarity leads to trust. You've got such a huge advantage now on where we were 10, 15 years ago. When I first started my business, you couldn't do this. It had to be face to face. You've got such an advantage now. You have to use these tools. And if you don't, competitors will. I know that we blow away some of our competitors because they don't do any of this. It's very difficult for, say, a big brand like, say, Subway or McDonald's to make it personal because there isn't a person behind it. It's a big organisation. When you're the size of my business, it's quite easy to start building up a personal profile of me, which then helps my business. I keep coming back to the link back to the business. You don't have to do that. You can be completely separate. But again, coming back to some of the benefits, you are building up trust because there's so much about you that you've put out there. There's a perceived value. If you're out on every kind of social media platform and you're telling everyone that you're an expert and you're giving them advice and you're putting content out there, then there's a perceived value on what you're giving because you're giving it out there for free all of the time. You're adding value to your personal brand. It differentiates you with your competition. And I spoke about that just before. People know about personal branding, but they're not doing anything on it. They think, I'll put a couple of posts out on Instagram and that's personal branding. Well, no, it's not. You've got to go a lot deeper into that. And you've got to be consistent with it. If I've had a failing, it's probably been about consistency over the last couple of years. And I've only really found out about personal branding over the last 2 years. But we all have the opportunity now because, of the circumstances that we find ourselves in to create our own personal branding. It's the biggest investment you could possibly make for you and your business. It doesn't necessarily bring in business from day one. And it may well be that you're not interested in bringing in business. If it's a personal brand to you and it's not anything to do with your business, it could just be that it's an interest for you. But you'll find that, just like Mrs. Hinch, it's gone from an interest and something that maybe she put out there for a laugh into a huge business for her. It's cleaning in the house. You make money from that, and then you can make money from a lot of things, can't you? So, differentiate yourself from the competition because, like I said, very few are doing it. It's authentic because it's personal to you, so it's not, you've seen in the past where it's fake it before you make it, people standing in front of Ferraris and jets and things like that. That's not personal branding. That's just, blatant marketing and basically bullshit. Personal branding is a consistent message about you and content about you that you can't fake. It's 100% authentic. It's about, you putting yourself out there. It's about your personality shining through. When you're doing videos consistently and doing podcasts and stuff like that, you can't fake that for a very long period of time. So it becomes 100% authentic. You become the go-to person in your area of expertise. If you're constantly out there telling people that, you're the cleaning expert, then who is it they're going to go to? If you're constantly out there saying you're the health and safety person to go to, you're one step ahead, or 2 steps ahead of your competition. You'll be known for it. And that comes to the other point, you are going to be known as the expert in your field. You're the sector's go-to person. You're the person that is known for the expertise in that field. There might be 100 people out there who've got more expertise than you. But guess what? If you're the only person that's putting themselves out there and have got the personal brand behind it, you're the person that they're going to see, that you're the person that they're going to go to. You may not have to be the best, but if you're the best at putting yourself out there, then you're going to get the business. And then that comes to nicely to the next one. You're going to attract more opportunities. The more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities are going to come to you. It's not luck that you get business more often than not. It's because you've put yourself in the right situations. You've become known. It's, if you take the BNI classic example, and I'm going to be talking about this subject in the BNI in about 40 minutes. The BNI works on referrals, warming up contacts and people getting to know you and then referring you. Well, personal branding is your online presence, and it does exactly the same thing. It's warming up people to opportunities. It's giving them an insight into who you are so they can build up trust, build up knowledge of you, trust of you, familiarity of you. And then that's where opportunity lies. So the other thing I think for you to get your head around it is, and for you to maybe understand how important personal branding is just think of it like this. How do you introduce yourself to someone? When you first meet someone, how do you introduce themselves to another business, or whether it's a networking group or anything else, right? You say, hi, my name is, and then you might say your company. You don't say, hi, I am whatever your company is, then your name. That's the level of importance that you personally are to your personal brand. There's your company, or the company that you represent, and then there's you. You're introducing yourself to someone. So why shouldn't you take as much care over your personal brand as you do your business or someone else's business that you're representing? Have a think about that. That's how important it is. You've given a lot of importance to your product, to your company's product, to your employer's product. But how much importance are you attaching to yourself, your name, your personal brand? And that's the pivot, that's the mindset switch that you need to make. Because every single one of us has the capability of creating a personal brand. And the benefits of it are huge. I've sold some of my franchises to people who haven't even tried the food, to people who haven't even been in the store. And they haven't done that simply because they've looked at one of our concepts and gone, oh yeah, it's amazing. I've got to have that. It's been built on a relationship, and that relationship is in part, and a big part, based upon them looking at my personal brand and looking at me personally online, my social footprint, and saying, okay, yeah, this is someone I can work with. I've got familiar with them. I've got to know them. By the time I actually sit down and actually have a meeting with them, I don't have to do an awful lot. They're already sold. That's how strong and important it is. Due diligence these days is not made up of just checking out the company. In fact, more often than not, it's more about checking out the individual behind the company. That's how important it is. I mean, how do you carry out your due diligence when you're looking at going with potentially a new supplier or a new marketing company or whatever it is? If you know the individual, I tend to look up the individual. If I don't know who the individual is behind the company, because it's a big organisation, then yes, I'll look at all the normal standard ways of doing the due diligence. But if there's a name behind the business, and certainly in franchising and in most businesses there is, then you check them out. You look them up. You've got to also remember that, human nature is that we're all a bunch of nosy Parkers, aren't we? We're all curtain twitchers. Why do you think all these programs on TV are so popular? Like the Kardashians. I'm a celebrity, get me out of it. They're all insights into people's personalities and how they live their lives. We're all nosy. We all want to know a bit about somebody else and compare ourselves and what kind of house do they live in? The reason that we watch programs like, what's the house program? Location, location, location. I'm not interested in, particularly that location. I'm interested in what kind of house they're going to be living in. I want to be nosy, That's what it's about. And the TV programs tap into that now. They know that we're a bunch of nosy Parkers. And that's your personal brand as well. That's what it's doing. It's an insight into who you are, and people can't resist having a look. So, yeah, look, that's my take on personal branding. Hope you found that interesting. If you do nothing else in this lockdown but grow your personal brand or create a personal brand, start getting yourself out there more, and do not listen to people who just laugh at what you're doing. There's probably, out of all of my friends, I'm probably the only person that does it to the extent that I do. And I, take some stick over it. So what? I'm the one with the personal brand, and it's going to lead to good things for me in the future. Worst case scenario is that, maybe you don't get any business from it. Maybe all that happens is that you are cataloguing your life. But guess what? How important is that? That's pretty important as well, isn't it? Just think your kids, your grandkids will be able to look back on all of this stuff that you're putting out on social media in one form or another and be able to build up a picture of who you were. I know virtually nothing about my parents in terms of how they lived their lives, why they made the decisions that they did. I'd love to have known more about them, but they didn't have the technology and access to what we have now. If I've got a business that's here long after I'm gone, my grandchildren will be able to look back and see exactly how it started. How interesting is that? Even if it does nothing other than just catalogue my life, that's pretty amazing. So start it. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So take care, stay safe, and the next podcast will be out on Friday. So see you then.